how much should you invest? And how do you figure that out? Something I hear a lot is, what is the minimum you could invest to make a difference and benefit from it? People need like this minimum threshold amount to then be able to kick back and relax, knowing the money is taken care of in their life. They can go sip Mai Tais on the beach and know that their next Lambo is on its way to being delivered. It's an important question, I'll give you that, because if you invest too much money, then that's wasting this resource that we have that's a very precious thing. You could have spent it on a cool trip around the world, or you could have bought that sports car, but instead it's just sitting in some boring investing account. FOMO is hit. It's a real problem. But we could also invest too little. What if we barely invest at all? Then you won't have much money to retire or otherwise use how you want. So let's figure out how much is the right amount. And to be the exact opposite of the articles I find online, I made a chart for you to show you exactly how much to invest based on what you want to do in your life. My goal is to make this as clear as possible for you and very, very simple. Now, if you Google how much should you invest or how much should I save for retirement or any of those kinds of questions, the experts seem largely to agree on a percentage of your pay, but they meander all over the place. And they end up making me feel like I've somehow gotten the answer to the question, but also like wasted my time, and I'm still confused and I still don't know what to do. So the most important thing we need to decide when we're looking at this chart is, what is this invested money for? What's the goal and why are you investing? Now, you can have different possible motives. You could need to save for a long time to potentially buy something like of your dreams, like a big house down payment. Maybe you want to lower the future costs of something like saving for college for your kids. That makes sense. Maybe you want to retire comfortably. Maybe all you want to do is just vaguely grow your net worth because that seems like a good goal. Worth doing, I agree. Now, whatever your reason is, we can do the math to get you there. All the math that I put into this chart is assuming that you'd make the stock market average of about 8% per year. Nothing fancy, nothing super risky, just the normal, boring S&P 500 index fund or total stock market index fund. Here's my luscious, wonderful chart. It's simple but effective. So let's start at the top here. Let's say that your goal is to retire or at least become financially independent as soon as humanly possible. Get rich fast, do it right now. The amount that you would need to invest to do that is 80% plus of your income. Now that entails a few different things. Number one, the strategy is make as much money as you possibly can. Probably means working more, doing whatever adds the most value, changing jobs, getting side hustles, like doing everything you can to maximize your income. It also means minimizing your expenses. Like you're gonna have to go hermit mode for this because you're gonna spend like no money to be able to save 80% of it. And that's fine. I mean, you can get your freedom in 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, depending on what you're making and how much money you actually need. And that's possible. People are doing it. Check it out on Reddit. Like it's happening. It's just very extreme. So you know that going into it. The next option is, hey, I want to retire or be financially independent in 10 or 15 years. Now that's a lot longer time, but it's a lot less money to invest too. We're talking about investing 60%, maybe more of your income. And that's still a lot. I mean, the average person saves and invests like 3 to 5% of their income. So for you to do 60% is still very extreme. You're still going to have to do almost everything that 80% person does. You just won't be like only working and only eating eggs and old bread that you find in a dumpster. Like it won't be that extreme, but it'll be pretty extreme still. And then something that I'm probably more on this trajectory myself is being able to retire or be financially independent in 20 or 25 years. Now we're saving probably between 30, less nowadays. Inflation's rough, man. We're probably not quite saving 35% of our income now. We were saving upwards of 33 to 35% maybe a year ago, but kids and inflation make things a lot more expensive. So I think we're probably below 30% now, unfortunately. We're probably not quite on track for 20 to 25 years, but I'm comfortable saying that if you're saving that amount and you only need the other 65% of your income to survive, then a trajectory of 20 to 25 years should work for you. I know 20% is what a lot of websites recommend that you save, and that's setting us up to potentially retire in 30 or 40 years, depending on what your needs are and how the stock market does. But for most of us, that's still something that we have to work towards. That's still a lot more money than any 401k match. That's a lot more money than any of your parents probably saved. It's just a fairly extreme thing. And so you know, these are not a one and done thing. Like it's not a light switch you have to flip on today and then just start doing. You can start at 5 or 10% and figure out ways to work up to 20%, especially as you get raises. That's the easiest way to invest more. Whenever you get a raise, if you can invest most of the raise and just give yourself a little tiny piece of it, then you don't feel the pain of investing more. you still get more money to take home. And in the meantime, you've invested more. So that's the real hack there. But for most of us, the average person is not investing more than 10% of their income. That's going to take you 50 plus years to retire. Probably you won't be able to retire on your own financial provision, if that makes sense. You'll be dependent on somebody else, or you'll be dependent on Social Security. There's really no way around it. That's the mathematical truth. Now, thankfully, we have control over this. We can choose how much we work and save and invest. And if we're investing wisely, or if we're doing really sketchy, like risky stuff, that's a lot of the reason why I'm making free classes on Skillshare that are coming out January of next year, because I want you to understand this stuff well enough that you win with money, that you can set yourself up to win and not rely on somebody else. And the really exciting thing would be if you really killed it. Like, what if you became this 60% of your income person and 12 years after you watched one of my first videos, you were financially independent? Like, that would be the best email I'd ever gotten if you sent me that. I would love to see that. Now, down here at the bottom, I've got some other reasons why you might want to save and invest, and that's covering the cost of something that is pretty big. So what I've done here is giving you some examples of an amount you might want to save in an amount of time. So maybe you've got your first job, you're trying to save for your first car, you want to get $5,000 in 5 years. How much would you need to invest to then have that $5,000? Only about $70 per month. So thankfully, that's a lot less than a car payment. And that way you can buy the thing, move on, and not have any debt. And then the different amounts can go up, and they basically are proportional, going up for $10,000 in 5 years at $140 per month. $50,000 in 5 years will probably take you about $685 a month. That's a lot of money to save. I mean, 10 grand a year, it's a lot of money to save that quickly. Now, if we double the time duration and we go from 5 years to 10 years for all of these, it's interesting to notice that it's less than half. And that's just the very beginning of compound interest really starting to come in and help you. So instead of it being $70 per month to save 10 grand in 5 years, which would be exactly half, it's only around $56 per month. So you're starting to see that because that time horizon is enough that the momentum is really catching on. You're able to benefit from compound interest, but that's still kind of a short amount of time when we're talking about compound interest. If we kept that going for like 30 more years, I mean, you'd barely have to save any money because compound interest would be helping you so much. But that's kind of another video for another day. Now, something I notice in the comments section a lot of times with people who are newer to investing is that it seems like there's a lot of you out there, now not everybody, but there's a handful that's pretty solid, that want to take a minimalist approach to investing, dipping your toe in the water, so to speak. You ask questions like, what if I invest $5 per week? How much money can I make? Or what if I invest $1,000 right now and leave it there for like 5 years? How much money will I make? And I just sort of sigh reading those kinds of comments, because investing isn't like buying a certain amount of lottery tickets and hoping that you get just enough exposure to maybe hit it big and win. The stock market isn't a casino. Or maybe I should say it doesn't have to be like a casino, because some people do treat it like that. They hope that it's like a casino. Instead, investing for 99% of us should be a slow, steady progression over a very long period of time. We should invest every month and be much more patient than how much money can I make if I invest this much right now. Like, it's not a get rich quick scheme. It's not something that's going to save us from a sudden financial mishap. It's not something that's going to suddenly like increase your income. I think a lot of people have income problems and they think, well, if I made an extra $200 a month, if I invested some money, well, that would help me out a lot. That's really not the kind of investing that I'm talking about. I mean, you could do a form of investing that generates an income for you, but we're talking about probably making 2 to 5% per year, which means you need to invest something like 20 or 30 times more than the amount you're trying to make back. So you'd need to have, tens of thousands of dollars at least invested to generate that kind of income, which obviously you don't have because you have an income problem. So what I want to make clear is there's no difference in how much money you make, whether you invest $5 or $5 million. The percentage that you're earning in terms of a return doesn't change. The guy who's just killing it and has a ridiculous income and he's investing $100,000 per month isn't going to make a better return than you. And to have the kind of mindset of like, let me just dip my toe in the water for 6 months or for a year or for even 5 years, it's really not enough time for you to get the full benefit of investing, because compound interest is the thing that sets us up for the long haul. And investing wisely across diversified index funds is the way that we really can benefit without a lot of the risk. Now, to do that and to be as successful as possible, you need to know where to get started and kind of what to invest in. And so if you want to see what I invest in, watch this video next to see my top 5 index funds for this year. Also, the secret comment for today is tortoise. Our progress in our investing should be slow and steady, like a tortoise. All right, see you next time.